There are a few things in the video game zeitgeist that are more influential than the bosses in the Legend of Zelda series. Understanding the behavior and patterns of the bosses to strike at their critical points has become a sacred aspect in gaming, second only to shooting the red barrel cause it's probably gonna explode. We here at Shacknews are going to take a look at the best bosses found in each of the 3D Zelda games. So we're only looking at Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and Skyward Sword. Now I'm going to lay down a few ground rules before we begin. Now this is a list, it's my opinion, it's not law or anything. If you disagree with it, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your opinion. I'm going to base this on the boss's design, difficulty, and atmosphere of the fight. Also, since the bosses in Majora's Mask slightly differ from the N64 and the 3DS version, I've given them each scores and averaged them out. Sub-bosses do not qualify, so my apologies, Dark Link. And Ganondorf will not qualify for this list as well. Why? Because, I mean, he would have gotten 3 of the slots. So, without further ado, Ocarina of Time, the Phantom Shadow Beast, Bongo Bongo. Out of all the Ocarina of Time bosses, Bongo Bongo is probably the most terrifying. It is a giant maleficent spirit with its hands cut off, with skin color that makes it look like all the blood was drained from those open wounds. Add the fact that you're on a giant bongo drum completely surrounded by ectoplasmic acidy goop, and you'll have a better understanding why I'm not allowed at the drum circle at the local coffee shop. Probably the best part of this boss fight is the use of the hover boots. Normally with Zelda bosses, the item that you got in the dungeon will be the instrument that you need to beat the boss. Twinrova needed the Mirror Shield, while Vega needed the Megaton Hammer, yada yada yada. However, you really don't need the hover boots to beat Bongo Bongo. All you need is your bow and arrow, the Lens of Truth, and your sword. During this fight, Bongo Bongo will be keeping a steady tempo on the drum, making you bounce up every so often, which makes aiming with your bow and arrow quite difficult. You can mitigate this problem by equipping the hover boots, which will give you an extra second in the air, allowing you to have a better shot. This is a clever way of utilizing the dungeon item without shoving it down your throat. Majora's Mask, the masked mechanical monster, Gaut. Thinking of all the bosses in the Zelda series, Gaut is probably my favorite to fight. The key to beating Gaut is keeping momentum. See, with most Zelda bosses, you're kind of playing a waiting game, patiently biding your time until the critical point reveals itself and then you go all John Hamm on it. However, the fight with Gaut is an all-out frontal assault. You have to constantly slam yourself into Gaut if you want to do any damage. And chasing Gaut around in a ring is probably the most fun I've ever had with a Zelda boss. The fact that you can jump off a ramp to dodge bombs, stalactites, and lightning discharges to land on a giant mechanical goat to beat the ever-loving crap out of is epic in its own right. It is also worth noting that Gaut is the least changed boss in the 3DS version. I guess you really can't change perfection. Wind Waker. The Protector of the Seal, Jahala. Jahala is clearly the most original boss in the Wind Waker. His design alone makes him really stand out. While Gaut focused on your momentum, Jahala focuses on the player control. See, in order to beat Jahala, you have to take your Mirror Shield to shine the light upon him, which makes him vulnerable. You pick him up, you throw him into the spikes, and you slaughter all the Poes. Normally with Zelda bosses, you have to wait for the critical point to reveal itself. With Jahala, you make the critical point. You have to make sure that you're killing enough Poes. The fight is completely in your hands. This fight really emphasizes the fact that your skill will shape the outcome of this fight. Twilight Princess. The Twilight Dragon, Argarok. While I'll admit the design of Argarok is kind of meh. I mean, he's Ridley, without the whole space or pirate thing. But what really sold me on this boss was the atmosphere and setting of the fight. It's epic. Using your dual claw shots, you're trying to get closer and closer to Argarok just to bring him down the hard way. And there's even a little Shadow of Colossus gameplay involved. And if you're paying attention during this dungeon, you will even notice Argarok flying around in the background. Which is great to see, because normally Zelda bosses tend to stay in the boss room. Kind of like a grumpy teenager who was sent to their room for accidentally setting the rug on fire. And to my defense, there was a very big spider. Skyward Sword. The Ancient Automaton, Koloktos. I'm a huge fan of Koloktos' design, which is heavily inspired by the Asura found in Buddhist mythology. Not only is Koloktos terrifying with its boomerang blades and giant sweeping swipes, but it's even smart enough to hide its critical point from you. However, that proves to be futile in the second phase, where you can actually pick up one of its scimitars and go apeshit on it. The reading and reacting to patterns part is over. Now begins the slashy, which is incredibly satisfying. That's it for the list. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Since we just did the best bosses in 3D Zeldas, next week let's do the worst bosses in the 3D Zelda games. For more content like this, and for all your gaming needs, be sure to head over to shacknews.com.